Dan, it's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Jacob.
Momentous events are occurring in Washington. The Supreme Court has just knocked down Trump's tariff policy, which he based on a 1977 Economic Emergency Powers Act. We are blockading, in effect, Cuba right now, and we have an armada off of Iran. I want to begin with the last first, since that's getting the most attention. Iran. Did Trump do the right thing in assembling an armada?
Yes. Ultimately, this has been the Iranian regime, an evil regime, has been a cancer in the Middle East and across the world for 50 years. You and I are both old enough, the fall of the Shah, and old enough the American hostages taken. They have exported terror, killed thousands of Americans. They've killed thousands of other people, financed proxies, and financed a nuclear program. They are an evil regime. The only way they might even consider an alternative is through force. So the best outcome is somehow, I'm going to mix metaphors here. The mullahs have a road to Damascus moment and conversion on saying, well, I'm going to give up the nuke because it's not worth it. Either I'm just going to get whacked too many times or the sanctions are too heavy. And so I think that's the best outcome. The second best outcome is some sort of a palace coup where there's regime fracturing, where you have some part of the regime decides they've had enough and they take over, and there's some sort of ideally of a more secular military strongman type scenario. Obviously, there's the dream scenario that may or may not occur. There's two other scenarios. One's a bad one, which is the state of Iran fractures. I mean, it's sort of it was drawn by the Brits, as you know, Jacob, and I don't know if it's 40%.
And it falls into civil strife, as did Syria or Libya.
Right, so Balochistan, the Kurds, the Azeris, I forget all of the, but there's a lot of different minority groups that if you add them all up, it goes up to, I don't know if it's 40%, I don't know if it's 60% of the Iranian population is not Persian. So I haven't seen the numbers, but it's some significant number. So if you had something like a Syria on steroids with nukes, that would no bueno. That'd be no bueno. Then there's the fourth scenario in my mind, which is that there's some there's some color revolution in Iran. It's bloodless, and there's some sort of movement to democracy. There's some percentage of the population that wants that. Clearly, a significant part of the diaspora would like the son of the Shah to return. Who knows? It's easy to be on TvAbraham and hope for such a thing. It's unclear how real that is. So in my mind, there's a fifth scenario where no change. So no change within the regime, and we continue to have conflict. Change within the regime, strong man, Syria on steroids, or a democratic revolution.
There's one thing you missed. What about the son of the Shah?
That's what. So I mean, it was like 25 or the guy with the gray hair, right?
Yeah.
No, I meant that. I meant the return of the. Yeah, so I think the guy who lives in Potomac or wherever he lives, or in Maryland, has said he wants to be a transitional figure. Think about the Afghan king in 2001, 2002, who was an elderly king. He has said he's willing to be a bridge figure to bridge a democracy. I mean, that would be, frankly, that's the best out. If you ask me what I think Americans should want, that's what we should want. It's not clear the Iranians want that. Ultimately, though, there's two things I think your listeners, and you have smart listeners, Jacob. One is that this is going to be ultimately have to be Iranian-led. I don't see the United States doing a 2003 Iraq. We're not going to put boots on the ground in Iran. I don't see it. I don't see us trying to. I also, it'll rhyme a little bit with what you've seen in Venezuela to the extent we got involved in any sort of way in that way. But in the meantime, I think the important thing is to defang the missiles, because they've got a lot of missiles, and we need to make sure that they can't attack our troops, that can't hurt our allies with the missiles, but also degrade their security abilities to repress their own people.
Now, it's a big decision for Trump, and while we heard that he was planning a weeks-long military campaign, the Wall Street Journal has most recently reported that Trump is also weighing a limited preliminary strike. What do you think of that?
I mean, again, I think a little bit to the conversation we're having in the green room, Jacob, that the Iranians have a lot of missiles. So unless you take out all those missiles, if I'm Iran, to maintain legitimacy within my regime, I'm going to be strongly incentivized to launch missiles if I have the ability to launch missiles. And it should be in our interest to stop their ability to launch missiles. So I worry that a limited strike, if it doesn't take care of the missiles, if you don't take care of the archers before they release their arrows, we could have a problem on our hands.
The problem with a limited strike is that it really takes us back to the era of signaling, doesn't it?
It feels like the 1990s where like we bombed, a pharmaceutical. I hope it doesn't end up like that. I'm sure we have better intelligence than we did in the 1990s. We have better technologies than 30 years ago too. But it seems to me as if we have to make sure that it doesn't come across as if it's sort of incomplete. That it also sends some sort of succor to the regime in terms of saying we toughed it out. We stood up to the evil, the devil, the American devil, where they have these chants, death to America. We stood up to the American devil and survived. That would be a bad narrative for us.
Now, one difficulty for Trump, of course, is he asserted unequivocally that his previous strike had eliminated the Iranian nuclear program, but now it looks like we're mowing the lawn again, right?
It looks like we're mowing the lawn again. Now, again, if he takes out the entire Navy, takes out the entire Air Force, whatever's left of it, takes out the command and control of the IRGC and these repressive regime, elements of repression, and then also perhaps targets a series of the leaders and makes them feel the heat. Maybe that's enough to bring about what I was describing earlier, some sort of a palace coup and some emergence of a strongman.
Now, the optimistic scenario is that this all goes according to plan. But the problem is, and this is why many people in Trump's base are very leery. Their fear is that the president who promised to end the forever wars is on the verge of creating a new one, if you listen to Steve Bannon and others.
Right. I'm trying to remember the quote from, was it The Godfather 3 about like I got called back in, or I can't remember. I'm sure I have to go find the quote, but just when I thought I could get out, I've been pulled back in. So the Middle East has that quality, as you know. But I would also say he ran on ending military interventions. And I'd say there's a part of his base, I want to be careful how I say this, but that were radicalized by the Iraq and Afghanistan experiences, and that there's a generational change in Washington
like
among
with J.D. Vance, for example.
Right. So policymakers in their mid 30s through their maybe to their early 50s, most of them have very little or no memory of the Cold War. They have little or no memory of the end of the Soviet Union. They have their formative experiences are 9/11, Iraq, and Afghanistan.
Like our friend Bridge Colby.
Yes.